the one thing that people are always a little bit interested in is when I was going through the so-called line that we all went through out at the Hope Ranch in California, because the President Reagan used to throw a really nice party for us out there. And I was going through the line, and my wife was there with me, and this was right after the first summit between Reagan and Gorbachev in Geneva, and then the meeting in Moscow. And Gorbachev would keep saying, "God willing," and so help us God, and all that, which to me kind of is like, a sour note in a symphony. It just didn't make any sense.
Right.
So I asked him. I said, "Mr. President, do you think Gorbachev is a religious guy? Do you think he believes in God?" And he said something like, "Well, Steve, I mean, you know that he is he was baptized an Orthodox by his mother, but no, he isn't. He's a communist. He is a hard communist. And when he says God, he says it with a little g, not a big G."
This is the president.
President, that was Reagan.
Son of a gun.
And of course, that was the time when they said that he was supposed to be getting Alzheimer's. That is the biggest bunch of baloney I have ever heard.
Total garbage.
Yes, total garbage.
But this is coming from potentially his own son, right? I mean,
Well, that was Ron Reagan making those accusations, and I wrote a column on that here a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
Because here he says in 1984 that he was showing signs of this problem.
The beginning of his second. Right.
Yeah. 86, he goes to Reykjavik, Iceland, and carries on the best performance of his career as a human being, let alone president, brings us out of the Cold War, and does all this supposedly with Alzheimer's disease. It just doesn't make any sense. And actually, they didn't actually diagnose it until what, 1994?
Much later,
like, way later.
Sure.
Yeah.
You mentioned 86. Were you there, Steve?
Oh yeah, I was there from 83, late 82, 83. I was there in 86.
You were there in 86 when he actually, the thing you see everywhere, Mr. Gorbachev.
Oh
down.
yeah, that was yeah.
Or was that in 86?
It might have been. Now you're getting me.
Right.
86 was the Reykjavik summit that I went to. I went there. That was a history-making thing. I was there at the Berlin Wall. We had a camera stand set up just very close to the Brandenburg Gate, and of course the wall was right there at the Brandenburg Gate, and the president was up. It was a great photo op situation, because here he's standing there and you see the gate, and then through the gate you see the East German Communist broadcast tower, which is one of these stilt things with a round ball on it.
Right.
And then a thing is sticking out of the top, except that the ball itself was made with little panels that interconnected with each other and made it look sort of like a jewel. And at certain times of the day, the sun would hit that thing, and you'd look at it through the gate, and you could actually see a cross there. And they used to call it the Pope's Revenge. But I was there when they said, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear this wall down," and that was a celebration, incredible. And in fact, it was like a German beer festival, because they had set up beer kiosks and everything all the way down the street.
I
behind
bet.
it. But that was a very unbelievable history-making event.
Yeah.
Which actually we flew in and out of. What was the name of that famous airport in Berlin? I can't think of the name of it. It starts with an E. I should know it, but I don't. I didn't bring it. But we flew in and out of that in a 747, which any pilot would say we were crazy. But we had to leave all of our luggage and everything back in Rome and fly up there and land on that field, and then took off, boy. We used every last inch of that that runway.
And for
we
you,
got out of
being
that.
an instrument-rated pilot, I mean, was that a pretty rare thing within the pool there?
Yeah, that was really. We landed at a lot of airports around this country that are a little short, but at least they had some clearance. At least if you made a mistake, but there was no room for. It was like landing in a baseball field. There was just no clearance at either end.
Yeah.
So that was an exciting thing for us to do that.
You do have a true love of not only being in a plane, but also
Yeah.
being behind in the cockpit there.
Sure.
That's something you
Really
picked up
love
at
it.
an early age, or
No,
later in life?
I was in New York at the time, and a lot of my neighbors happened to be pilots for Eastern and United and things like that, and they said, hey, why don't you come down and join our club, and we'll teach you how to fly. And so I did. And,
Yes.
it was called the 150th Aero Club, and so I learned to fly, went on, got my instrument rating, and retractable and all of that kind of stuff, you know. And then we flew all over the country.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I enjoy aviation very much.
You know, there's so many things I want to touch on. I'm
Yeah.
afraid we're going to run out of time. But,
Yeah.
you know, when you think for yourself, the 20 years with NBC News and
Mm-hmm.
having done so many big things before that at WCBS, at KYW there in Philadelphia,
Mm-hmm.
have you ever thought about putting together an autobiography, Steve, working on that? Have you ever?
Yeah.
Or are
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
too busy on the radio?
No, I've actually started to do that.
Have you?
Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff in a big cardboard box.
Oh,
And
yeah.
What I'm going to do is, I think, is just instead of a biography or autobiography, a chronology of events and ideas, and tell the stories. You know, because I got a lot of stories.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's why we've got you in today. And of course, for so many folks who may not listen to WRNN in the mornings, maybe a way they can listen online though at WRNN.net, I believe. They
Yeah,
can
they
listen
can. Oh, yeah.
from around
Yeah.
the world. For
Yeah,
folks
that's
who may
right.
not have seen your column, they can go online to MyrtleBeachHerald.com
That's right.
and subscribe, and then be able to check your column out. Porter's Point
Yep.
has had some very illuminating pieces. There's so many powerful ones. One of them, and I don't have a date on this, but it's titled "Snippets Can Tell a Lot."
Yeah.
Though I prefer the whole story. Another good reason why you need to take the time
Yeah.
to lay out that chronology. And
Yeah.
it laid out some wonderful things. One of the great things, I've got to give you part of a quote here
Yeah.
from a number of years ago where you said, you don't, quote, much like the term journalist because it
right.
takes in too many people who are allowed to play the game of news reporting
Yeah.
without sticking to the facts.
Well,
End
that's
of
the-
quote. Is that, you still agree with that?
Yeah, and that, of course, that was pre-blogger.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Now
sure.
you got a bunch of bloggers considering themselves to be a part of the
Journalists.
fourth estate or being a journalist.
Right.
So to me, the word itself has been pretty much blown up and misused, and I prefer. I love the word reporter.
Right.
A person is a reporter. He goes out, he gets the facts, he brings back who, what, where, why, and how, and does it straight. And if he wants to put a little bit of color into it, just as long as it's true,
Right.
then that's good writing.
Yes.
But a lot of the stuff that we're getting today is just, I read an AP, and I'm not criticizing AP, I used to work for them, but the sentence was at least 5 lines long and included all these adjectives that really didn't add anything to the story. It was just the writer trying to be somebody other than what he was, in my opinion, and it confused the story. It wasn't a simple declarative sentence that told the story.
Right.
But we're getting into that. Maybe they teach that in journalism school today. I don't know.
That's an important thing
You know.
to wonder about, yeah.
But the simple declarative sentence, straightforward, with a little color, if you can throw it in there, maybe even a little humor, there's room for all that, just as long as it's all true.
Right,
You
right.
know.
I remember seeing in one of your pieces something Walter Cronkite had told you.
Oh, that
just-
was something, yeah. That was, we were at lunch and he said, we were just starting WCBS, All News in New York, and I was only 20, let's see, I was 26 years old. And
Incredible.
there were 2 or 3 of us there. They were older than I was.
And you were the main anchor.
I was their first anchor, yeah.
Incredible.
When we kicked it off in 66 or 67, I don't
67,
remember.
I believe, right.
Yeah.
Right.
But he really loved what we were doing.
Right.
Because, you know, he wasn't going to be a part of it, although we'd be using a lot of his stuff. And somebody asked him, I don't think it was me, somebody asked him, what do you think, Walter? What's it take to be a really good anchor? I mean, after all, you're the anchor. He said, you have to have an ability to entertain.
Uh-huh.
He said, you can go up there and you can read the news off a wire to people and they won't pay any attention. They'll get bored and walk away. When you're sitting in front of a television camera, in front of a microphone, if you just read it like you're reading a telephone book, they're not going to pay it much any attention unless it's a really important thing. But you've got to know how to entertain, which he did. I mean, he
Yes.
actually acted the news.
Still reporting.
but still reporting.
Yeah. But still reporting. Would he be, of course, y'all are, I mean, he's markedly older than you or was, but
Yeah.
when you think about, would he be somebody who really influenced you?
No.
Who would have been an influence then?
David Brinkley.
David Brinkley.
Yeah, I thought he was an outstanding writer. And in fact, he was more of a writer than he was an on-air guy.
Huh.
He was a very clever writer, and he always saw irony in everything. And that's what I enjoy, is finding the irony in stories.
Yes.
And of course, he's an old North Carolina boy.
That he is. New Hanover County, Wilmington area.
That's right.
Hilda
No.
Carter was with us recently, started the Teenage Tattler when she was
really?
at her high school publication that David Brinkley had helped out on, which was very exciting. So he started making a difference for folks at a very early age, and obviously impacted a lot. You know, we ran out of time. We couldn't get into Steve anchoring for 48 hours straight, the inauguration of Ronald Reagan, the resignation of Richard M. Nixon back in '74. Think about that. 48 hours straight, or going all night long for one particular event. It's that opportunity for Steve to have been a part of reporting events going on throughout the world. Steve Porter, thanks again for being with us.
Okay, yeah, glad to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.